Hey guys, today we are reviewing the Insta360 Ace Pro. I reached out to Insta360 as per one of your requests to see if they want to send me a camera for a review. In about a couple of months of ghosting me, they finally replied back with a yes, and here we are. So thank you to Insta360 for providing me with this camera to review. So I'm not a sports action type person, so there's not going to be any footage of me, jumping off a ski hill or mountain biking down a trail or anything like that. What I do with this camera is I like to document little moments. I travel and sometimes I try to vlog, and I was wondering if this camera can fit that bill. And that's what we're going to find out, and I'm going to share with you guys what I like and what I dislike about this camera. Let's go. The first thing I notice about this camera is its size. It's the biggest action camera that I've ever seen, but that's not a bad thing. It legit looks like a GoPro on steroids. And I do like the red accent around the lens guard, and also the Insta360 Ace Pro logo at the bottom as well. Both of these are a nice touch, and I feel it makes the camera stand out. So this is the Insta360. This is the GoPro Hero 10. It just makes the GoPro Hero 10 look like a basic bitch right now. Look at that. Look at the difference between the two. I honestly think the Insta360 looks a little bit better. Another thing that I like is the flip-up screen on the Ace Pro. I didn't think that I would like it, but it did come in handy while I was vlogging around the Algarve. So this is great for vloggers out there. The screen is pretty big and you can monitor yourself while framing up the shot. Flip up LCD screen is a nice touch. If we want to stabilization, this camera has amazing stabilization, and I think it's some of the best that I've seen from action cameras. The most action that I would do is probably like film my gym sessions and film my lifts just to check form. I had a friend who filmed me, and he's not a graceful guy by any means. He's a heavy set fella, I would say. And I just thought there would be, more shakes and bumps during this footage. But the stabilization did an amazing job. All right, so this is without any stabilization. We got both of them off. We got the Ace Pro and the GoPro Hero 10 right beside each other. Let's turn on the stabilization. This with the stabilization on for both. How's it look? With the GoPro Hero and the Insta360. Should I run? Should I run? Start running. Oh God. Oh God. How's it look? How's it look? God. Oh man, I'm tired. Ooh. HDR is working really good right now against the GoPro Hero 11 or GoPro Hero 10. Oh man. Okay, so the hyper smooth is on its highest setting at boost, and the stabilization on the Insta360 Ace Pro is at its highest. So we're gonna go do a run and see how steady it looks. How's it looking? Oh my God. I look like a crazy person. Oh God. Oh God. Fuck, I'm tired. Oh my God. Oh. And I'm not. And it wasn't even like I'm holding on to the grip really hard. I'm letting it flail a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, I'm out of breath. Oh my God. When it comes to image quality, this camera can shoot in 8K up to 24p and 4K up to 120 frames per second. With 8K, you shouldn't shoot with it all the time because that's just going to drain the battery much quicker. I use this camera to shoot in 4K, but since it's an 8K sensor, it has the ability to digitally zoom in 2 times. And I think this is great, so you can get a variety of wide shots and zoom in and get tighter shots without losing any resolution. This has been a game changer in my opinion. So this is normal mode. I mean, this is the super view mode. And then this is what happens when you zoom in, digitally zoom in to the, oh my God, I'm so tight. So you get that, and you don't lose any resolution because of the 8K sensor. Again, let's do something else. This is wide. This is wide, and you get a cool crop. and still hold all the resolution. I film everything in 24p because I just like that frame rate on my video. It just looks a bit more cinematic. However, I did try 4K 60 and it did look great, very crispy and very punchy. 4K 120 I tried as well, and this is great for people who love slow motion stuff. So there are a lot of frame rates to choose from in this tiny camera, which is insane. The image quality that I get looks great, the footage looks sharp. There are different color profiles to choose from. I've been messing around with the ocean preset because I do live by the ocean here, and I just love the colors that it puts out. It's very fun, it's very summery, and there is more to choose from. And if you find these colors are just too much, just switch it back to the standard profile. The Ace Pro can film in HDR up to 4K 30 as well. Anything higher than 30 frames per second, the Ace Pro will default back to normal. But the HDR is really good in high dynamic situations, and I like this feature a lot. And as opposed to my GoPro Hero 10, which doesn't have this HDR mode, you get to really see in this high contrast situations how much of a difference the HDR makes to your footage. I personally like this feature on the Ace Pro, and I think whatever the AI chipset is in this camera is actually doing a great job at analyzing the scene and just making sure that I am exposed and as well as the highlights are being saved. Take a look at both of these videos shot with my GoPro Hero 10 and the Insta360 Ace Pro. And as you can see, when I start walking into a dark place and I'm in the shadow area, you can see how the HDR mode goes to work on the Ace Pro. You see that I'm evenly exposed, whereas on the GoPro Hero 10, you can see that I'm in the shadows and I'm quite dark and underexposed. In 4K video recording, there are a few different field of views to choose from on the Ace Pro. The action view is their widest, and this is going to give you that action cam look. So this would be great for people doing extreme sports who wants to show an immersive view. But just be mindful of putting people in the corner of the frame with this field of view because it will distort their face. And after that, you got the ultra view, and this just punches in a bit. It's still wide, but it's not as wide as the action. And this is great for people who are hiking and who doesn't need that fisheye look. And then we have the D-Warp. This one punches in a little bit so that you don't get that distortion look that you get from the action view. It's great for people who are vloggers who just want a natural looking footage. The Ace Pro got loads of features. We got the star lapse mode for you guys wanting to capture star trails, time shift mode, time lapse mode, HDR photos. It can take 48 megapixel photos. And speaking of photos, I think switching back from video to photo has been a breeze with this camera. Whenever I wanted to capture a moment in stills, I'll just go in and switch over to the photo mode and just press the red button to snap a photo. And I've enjoyed the images that I got with it. Here's a clip of me using the time-lapse mode as well. I had this camera attached to my electric scooter, and I just went around town with it. Insta360 has built a software and an app you can use on your smartphone to edit these footages that you film with your Insta360 cameras. One of the things that you can't really do with this camera is to take this lens guard out to add in an ND filter so you can get that 180-degree shutter angle in order to get that motion blur in your footage. Why is this important? Well, motion blur makes your footage look more natural and more cinematic. Otherwise, it would look choppy and give it that action camera look that we are so accustomed to. However, with the app, they can add motion blur in post, and that's what you see me do with the time-lapse footage here. So Insta360 does give you the tools to help spice up your footage, and I recommend you guys play around with the app to see where your creativity takes you, because there's a lot of stuff you can do here. Pure video mode, which is their low light mode, is also a great feature as well. For any of you guys out there who likes to explore the city at nighttime, this pure video mode will come in handy. Now take a look at this video quality between my GoPro Hero 10 versus the Ace Pro in low light situations. The pure video mode just does a great job at keeping the colors right, and the stabilization was just wonderful in low light as well. Just because these cameras like my GoPro Hero 10 need to crank up the shutter speed to get the stabilization to work. That's just one of the characteristics of any action camera. You can see that my GoPro footage is a bit shaky and blurry in low light, whereas the Insta360 Ace Pro just does a terrific job at keeping the video footage very stable. The footage doesn't look muddy, and the footage still retains good details in low light. And this is really impressive coming from an action camera. And then we came to this very, very dark area where there wasn't much light, so I had to turn on the ISO on the GoPro 10 to ISO 6400, which is its maximum. And as you can see the footage side by side, at ISO 6400 on the GoPro, it's basically unusable with all the noise and artifacts. But then again, when you look at the Insta360 Ace Pro with its pure video mode, it does a great job in this scenario as well. So if low light is important to you, the Insta360 Ace Pro is the one to get. During the time that I had with this camera, I've used this camera as a travel camera, a vlogging camera, and recently I used this camera as my POV camera to film a photo session, and I really enjoy using this camera. It just checks off all the things I wanted to do. It can give 4K footage and it can give me different fields of view. People usually tense up whenever they see something like a mirrorless camera and its vlog setup. But with this camera, it's so inconspicuous, and when people see it, they don't care because they see it as a GoPro. Many people have seen GoPros before in their lives, so it just makes vlogging a bit better. People don't feel uncomfortable, and it's not going to draw any attention to yourself. Me, I really enjoy using this camera as a POV camera to film my photo session for content. It gets me what I need without any hiccups. I've also used this camera as a behind the scenes camera, something to just plop around while I film my YouTube content. It doesn't take up much space because of the footprint. So it's much easier to move around as opposed to, you know, taking out a camera tripod, adding another mirrorless camera and lens to it. And sometimes I don't want to do that much. That just takes up too much setup time for a solo creator like me. This is where the Ace Pro comes in handy. It's quick and it's easy, and all you gotta do is just take the Mantis, the tripod that you get that comes in the creator pack, and just adjust it accordingly. And the 8K sensor does help as well because it allows me to get tighter shots, and sometimes I don't want that action camera look. This is where this digital zoom feature is very useful for me. It just punches it in and gets rid of any of that action cam look. And like I said earlier in the beginning of this video, I also use this camera to film my training sessions, and it's just been so convenient. One thing that I don't like about the Ace Pro is its close focusing distance. For an action camera, I would expect it to be a bit closer. However, the minimum focusing distance for this camera is 40 centimeters. This is longer than I expected. So if you're trying to vlog, you have to keep your face at least 40 centimeters away from this camera to be in focus. Anything closer, you will be out of focus, so just be careful of that. Another thing that I don't like is the lens cover. You can't remove it. I would have loved to remove this so I can put on an ND filter on this camera, get full control over my exposure settings. Another thing that I have to point out is there is a slight lag on the back of your screen if you ever record 8K footage. I noticed that there is like a 1 second delay and lag in real time, and it just threw me off a bit. However, filming in 4K is responsive. Another thing I wish this camera had was log recording. It would have been great to be able to use some of the LUTs that I have to match the colors if I were to use this camera alongside my mirrorless cameras. And another thing that I found with this camera is it does get a little bit warm when vlogging. I live in a warm and sunny place, and when combined with filming this outside with the sun shining on the camera, it did get a bit warm for me. This was me filming in a mixture of 4K 24 and 4K 30. And I can only imagine what it would do to people who film in 4K 60. So if you're someone that likes to film in 4K 60, just be aware that it will get warm and it will deplete your batteries a lot faster. So bring a couple of spares just in case. So who's this camera for? If you're someone that wants to start travel vlogging, I think this camera is great, minus the focusing issues. You have to be at least 40 centimeters away from this camera to get your face in focus. So keep that in mind. But the rest of the camera I think is great. The video footage I got looks great. It looks amazing, crispy, sharp looking images. And as a vlogger, pure video would come in handy so much. There are times where I wanted to film a city at night time, but the footage that I got from my GoPro Hero 10 wasn't able to do it. But with this pure video in the Ace Pro, you're getting some incredible low light footage with great stabilization for your vlogs. If you're a content creator and if you want to add something complementary to your kit, I think this could work just because of its size and its ease of use. Like I said, I like this camera for its convenience, and you have just so many frame rates to film in. You got a big sensor inside, so that also helps with low light as well. If you're someone that films in bright sunny conditions a lot, the active HDR on this camera is amazing, and this is such a great feature to have as it exposes you in the shadows while trying to keep the details in the highlights. The Insta360 Ace Pro takes the guessing work out of my filming. I just press record and I let it do its thing. with their AI processing chip inside. I am quite happy with the footage I got, and I think it's one of the best action cameras that I've used to this day. My experience with action cameras are the GoPro Hero 9 and 10, and as well as the DJI Osmo Action. I also recommend you guys do some more research as well to see what other creators have to say that more aligns with your interests. But what are your thoughts on the Insta360 Ace Pro? Do you guys have it? Do you guys like it? Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you're interested or want more information on the Ace Pro, I'll leave the links down in the description below. And consider subscribing for more camera content like this. And thanks so much.